Has there been a moment from the trailers that you saw that you wished had been maybe not shown to audiences and withheld to avoid, like, oh, I wish they could have seen that when the movie just released?
It was interesting because watching the behind-the-scenes fighting thing, the fight scenes are really, really cool. I think it's the one thing that I'm like, because you can just physically, it's emotionally hard to judge, to gauge when you're in something, but physically, I worked really hard, and so looking at the fights, I'm like, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah.
So watching the featurette, it was funny because you forget the frustration. And I think that's a good thing, but it's also weird because just before the film comes out to see the frustration, I'm like, I don't know if I would have preferred that afterwards or whether it's good now. So that was an odd thing.
Okay, totally, yeah.
I think porks are fine. Yeah. Porks are great. Genuinely don't know why they've been made such a big deal of. Can you tell me?
I can't. No, I haven't seen the movie.
Do you feel like they're a big deal?
They are a huge deal.
Why is that?
I think it's Ryan Johnson. He's pumping them up on Twitter.
Is he?
Oh yeah, hashtags.
Oh!
There's a little icon that comes up now if you type in hashtag Pork Nation.
Oh, okay, that makes
it's Ryan
more sense.
Johnson.
They were on set. I took them around.
Yeah.
Showed them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Super
cool.
tight now?
Best friends.
Best friends?
Best friends.
Like group chat or
as in
individual?
Maid of honor.
Oh,
At the
good
wedding.
for you.
Godmother to
And
the new baby.
godmother.
Yeah. No, it was nice.
Wow.
It was cool. The thing is, I'm not good at small talk.
You're
so
not.
I was like, guys, I'm not the right person to take them round.
But-
I'm like, hey, what do you have for dinner? Only IMDb fans want to know. Everyone clearly wants to know. Pork's great, but I'm so taken aback by the reaction to the pork. It's really just like a space bird, right? So how far can it go? In fact, I don't even know if it flies.
Waddling
The body to wing ratio would mean that it couldn't fly, like a chicken. When my mum came in on the first film and her youngest child is doing this thing and, I couldn't tell my family anything. And it was just so simple, but Carrie, I introduced Carrie to my mum. And she just made my mum feel like I was being looked after and everything. And that really is the thing for me, because Carrie was a wonderful mother and person. And to make my mother feel happy about me being at work, I think is wonderful. He's always got the half smile. And that's very much just him, obviously with the help of wonderful people who are helping him do that vision. But the core of it is him. Rey is trying to learn about things and Luke was trying to learn about things. But beyond that, Yoda and Luke are two very different people. And Rey and Luke are two very different people. And Rey, it's not about her, it becomes about her in her own mind because she wants to understand the Star Wars at large and her own part of it. So to me, it's very, very different. I think it's more important to Rey than it is to me, because I am a big believer that one can make one's own family, and I have my family, I was about to swear, are so amazing, and they're my favorite people. But there are also other people around me who I would say are like my family because I love them and they make me feel good and we have a wonderful relationship. So I've always been a big believer in you can choose your family too. So in the story, it's important to her, but ultimately, regardless, she is who she is. She's going in a direction, and she's surrounded by people that have made her part of their family. She's fighting for the truth, I think, of her own story, of the bigger story. She's trying to figure out what it is that has led her there, and then beyond that, what it is that's led everyone there. And then really, it's less of a question of good and evil. It's more of a question of her own self and how that fits into the galaxy at large. I think this film isn't so distinctive between the good and the evil. There are questions that cross that. You can't only get answers from one side. It has to be weighted evenly, otherwise you're getting an unevenly weighted answer. So she's fighting for the truth and for the balance.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what it was like to be on set for The Force Awakens versus now in The Last Jedi.
Different director, unusual vision that people weren't expecting. The first film had just come out, so there was a whole host of other things going on, for me at least, of like, oh my God, people really like this. If they really like this, are they gonna like this? So there was a lot of questions, because it was such a wonderful set to be on again, like The Force Awakens. It settles and becomes just a wonderful work environment. Not that it's easy, but you have conversations and you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is where I come from and everything. So I think now it'll feel more familiar again, because it's like getting to know someone.
So what's it like working with Adam Driver as Kylo Ren?
Adam is an incredible actor. He is so amazing in this film. Seriously, I can't speak highly enough about him. So in the very basic sense of it all, he is the most amazing scene partner.
And do you have a favorite Star Wars quote?
Do or do not, there is no try. It's nice because it could be a load of things, because I don't think doing the thing is the doing the thing. It's just, if you try, you're doing it anyway. That's what I take from it.
So you were relatively unknown when the Force Awakens first came out 2
Yes.
years ago. Obviously, a lot has changed
Yes.
between then and now. What has that adjustment been like?
It comes and goes. When I'm working, you know, whatever, everyone's
Yeah.
at work, and then you suddenly are doing something like this and you're like, oh, it's weird because it's a sort of division of you as a person and then you as you're seen by other people, and there's this whole other thing. So it's odd, it's peculiar. I'm very lucky to be working, and I'm very, very lucky to be part of this. So it's wonderful, but it's not without its moments.
But it gets more and more normal?
No, it doesn't actually.
It does not.
It actually gets, to me, less normal because it becomes more like, this is more permanent. It sort of felt like the first time around I was like, oh yeah, sure. And then in 6 months I'll be like,
What kind of tips or guidance have you gotten from the great Mark Hamill on becoming the new face of the franchise?
None.
None.
No one has said like, this is it, this is how it's gonna be. There was never that. I think people are just wonderful and kind and also have families and sort of lives away from it. So I think that's the sort of lead by example thing. And even when Kelly joined, and I was trying so hard not to be like, oh, this is what happened to me, because everyone's having their own experience.
Right.
I think it's just a thing of seeing that life goes on. And really for me, it's like the family thing of making sure that everything at home, like my biggest thing is going home and seeing my family, and that will always be it. So I think, you know, Mark having that, Harrison having that, Carrie having that, that in itself is the biggest lesson. I remember being in an orange tent and being like, make me better so I can do my job.
Daisy is now 2 years older, stronger, and assertive, so don't you dare call her a movie star or you get this expression.
Because I'm an actress, is what I am, in a film. And I remember someone using that term actually before, and I was like, who invented this term?
Daisy does star in The Last Jedi, a film that begins exactly at the point The Force Awakens ends. Only, of course, now everyone realizes what a big deal these movies are.
It was nerve-wracking being back playing Rey. I think the first time around was so fun, and everything happened so quickly that I didn't really hold many expectations. And then obviously, because the reaction to the first one was really wonderful, but then suddenly I was like, expectations! So it was more scary.
You almost broke the internet when you said you're going to be stepping away from Rey.
Misquoted.
It was a misquote. Okay, let's clear it up. What did
Well,
you mean by
no,
that?
firstly, that was at the end of a very long day, at the end of a very long shoot. It was pouring it down with rain in Montreal. We were talking about where the trilogy's going, or whatever it is. All I said was, as far as I was concerned, when I signed on, I was signing on to 7, 8, 9.
Right.
I don't know about any plans beyond that. That's for Disney, that's for anyone else in charge
But you
to
would be
decide.
open to it.
Well, in my mind, that is where the story ends, and I think that's where everyone, for now, Mark's talked about it. The trilogies represent a beginning, a middle, and an end. But I don't know beyond
Not for
that.
Mark, though, because he came
No,
back.
exactly.
They probably thought that was
Exactly.
the end, and then they
but
came back.
also, Star Wars works in threes anyway.
Right.
So yeah, that was misquoted.
Okay, so there's a possibility.
Yeah, who knows?
Is a real fighter. What do you think young women these days can take away from her, can learn from her?
I don't know. I think what we can learn from Star Wars is to follow your own path, and that you don't have to be like anyone else, and try and do the right thing, and that will probably lead to good stuff.
Are you a fighter for yourself, like you are in your role?
I think I've become more of a fighter. I think I was always more determined and willful. My mum probably would say that about me. I think growing up, and I think in the world we're living in now, there's more. Weirdly, I have found myself this year more tested. And I feel, yes, like I am a fighter, and And I think playing a character like this has made me feel more able to be unapologetic and unashamed of having an opinion and not accepting anything less than what I think I deserve.
Why do you say, like, you just say, like, this year has, you know, tested you much more? Because right now you should be really on top of everything.
I am on top of everything, but you can be tested whether you're on top of everything or under everything. I've been busier than I've ever been, and being tired tests a lot of things.
Yes.
And having to fly around and juggle a lot of things means that one is tested. So it's not like everything's awful, but when there's a lot going on, that in itself is testing. Yeah, and I feel tough. I feel like a tough cookie.
Who is your idol in woman empowerment?
My mum.
Your mom?
Yeah, yeah, because she was very much a mum, and then also she always had a life away from it. Like, she balanced her own life, I think, very, very well, and she had a job, and not that everyone needs to have a job, but for me, growing up, I was like, oh, that's awesome, because I thought, oh, you're juggling it both. Just women that juggle a lot of things. Anyone that juggles a lot of things, but my mum is the one, yeah.
I read that Prince Harry and Prince William came to the set,
They
and
did.
you brought them around, you showed them
I did.
around. So who had more of a star moment there? There to meet you, or you to meet them?
Oh God, I don't think they cared about meeting me.
I think they probably did.
It was more. I think they were most excited about lightsabers, as most people usually are. But it's wonderful because so much of the time, actors are the people that get the recognition for films, and it takes thousands of people behind the scenes. And I took them around to the Creatures Workshop and costume and everything like that. So it was wonderful, sort of seeing an appreciation for all of the work that goes on behind the scenes. That was wonderful.
Were you starstruck?
Was I? No.
I'm going to start with one-word reaction to seeing the movie last night.
Overwhelming. That's a good word.
Sure. It seems like Rey and Snoke have a critical scene, maybe even a relationship in this movie. How much does Rey know about Snoke? And because there's a lot of stuff in, like, the book. Oh, let me rephrase. In Force Awakens,
yes,
there's a line of dialogue that was in the novelization, but not in the movie, about him saying, "Kill him," when you're fighting Kylo. And yeah.
Oh no.
So does any of that come in? Like, do you even did you know about that line?
No. No. And I also think no. And that, I don't think that works for the. No. I'm really, really stunned with that.
Right.
No.
Apparently, it was in the novelization, and,
Okay.
and JJ cut it out of the movie.
Yeah, no, that's definitely not in the film. But there is a critical scene, and it's fantastic, and Andy is one of the best people ever, and so good to work with, and that scene is pretty cool.
I cannot wait. Are you going to get Josh Gad a role in Episode 9 so he will stop bothering you? Has it happened?
It's not happened yet. But also Jacob Tremblay, who I sat next to at the Oscars, he wants a part, and Brooklyn Prince, who I just interviewed this week, she wants a part. So I'm like, guys, I'm not the casting team.
Really?
But I'll get you a number.
I was going to say, you might have a little juice.
No, do you know what? I just want my dad to be in The Resistance this time, because he's got a fantastic face.
Right, so...
And he's great vibes. And he was an actor when he was a teenager.
It's so good. It's so good. If you, thinking back on, actually, you saw the movie. Ryan told me that there's a ton of deleted scenes. Like, his first cut was 3 hours.
Do you know, it's interesting, because last night was the first time I was like, oh, there was a big bit that was
cut
out, yeah.
Yeah, he said there's some, like, 2 or 3 critical scenes that were not in the movie that will be on the Blu-ray.
I can't wait, because I can only remember one.
Oh, so...
They may not have involved me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I'll leave it there. I cannot wait to see the movie.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
So I'm going to throw out a few names, and in one-word answers, I would like you to tell me who is more powerful.
Okay.
Okay. Mace Windu or Rey?
Oh, jeez. I can't talk about myself like that. I play her.
You mean hypothetically? You can get-
Powerful. Rey.
Yoda or Rey?
Yoda.
Obi-Wan or Rey?
Obi-Wan.
Anakin or Rey?
Oh, interesting. The thing is, I think power is a good thing, and Anakin turned out that obviously there was like, you know,
Wait, he had some issues?
he had some issues, and he had a sliver of, you know, emotional integrity. So I would say Rey.
Palpatine.
Also, take into account, I don't know that much about Star Wars, so I'm probably answering all wrong.
The Emperor or Rey?
Rey. Also, we have to believe in the now.
You've been working with Josh Gad and
Yes.
several things.
Yes.
If he were to be in Star Wars,
Yeah.
what kind of character should he play?
Because he's really funny. I am just thinking Josh would... I mean, the thing is, in Murder on the Orient Express, he was fantastic, and
Yes.
it wasn't a funny part. But I can imagine him being something funny, either a funny creature or a stormtrooper or something. Or actually, just a funny character. I sort of feel like he would really work in the Star Wars world in like a really properly thrust into the creature side of things.
I would love to see it.
Yeah.
All of us really got to meet you on the last Star Wars junket.
Yes.
And you were such a pleasure. And I feel like you haven't changed at all.
Oh, I feel cynical and cold.
No way. Would your friends, though, say that you've changed in any way from that one to now?
To be honest, I've been working so much this year, I have not seen my friends very
You
much
have no
at
friends,
all.
is what you're saying.
I have no friends left. No, I don't think so. I think there's more of an awareness of what everything means, and like weirdly doing this feels longer than the one before or something. I think because there's just more of an awareness of what it takes really to do this. But no, I don't think so. But I'll be very excited to re-establish my friendships when I finally get home.
Good. So look for her to call you maybe or respond in 2018.
Yeah.
I am not a patient person really at all. So after the end of the last one, and thinking I've got to wait 2 years to find out what they say.
Before it was 3, and Mark keeps saying it was so nice when there was like more time in between. Yeah, it's a while. I mean, when we finished filming, I was like, a year and a half? It's a while. And then Force Awakens came out, and we had a couple weeks, and then I literally read the script after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it was actually, I wish I had had more time, because we went straight into filming, because there was a lot to process.
So you know what takes place. If Daisy Ridley showed up on that island and saw Luke Skywalker for the first time, what would the first thing you'd say to him be?
Aren't you lonely? It's funny actually, because in this film I'm a little bit stubborn. But I think Rey is more patient than me. Because I think I'd be like, come on, let's get it going. Galaxy to save.
Speaking of getting it going, you know, they aired the, I guess it's kind of a featurette featuring the behind the scenes training that you did. And in all of the workouts that you're doing, it's total upper body. Could you not carry stuff for a certain period of time?
No, do you know what? I watched the film last night and I'm strong. Like I got so strong. Because I'd been doing weights training anyway, because the lightsaber is really heavy. And the first time around I just didn't have the strength or the stamina. And so this time I was like, but no, I was strong,
Was it hard?
It was hard, we worked hard. But also it's really amazing, because I'd never really done anything physical like that. And then I look at athletes and think, God, I'd never physically done something that pushed me so my body changed that much. Right. And I was like, this is awesome.
Okay, so let's break down the trailer, because this isn't a secret. I know that you guys are super tight-lipped, but we'll talk about what we already do know.
Okay.
So Rey says, something inside me has always been there,
Yes.
and now it's awake, and I need help. What is it? Who is she getting help from?
She is asking for... She's asking for help more in the sense of she needs to understand it. She's not asking for someone to tell her what to do or whatever. She's just... It's more of a question of, why am I here? What is this thing? And the big Star Wars question of what is good versus evil, the whole thing, but in a more personal sense. And for her, it's not so distinctive in this film. It's, she's just, her own identity crosses everything. It makes much more of a grey area. I'm not making sense. There's much more of a grey area than the black and white. And I think she's asking questions within that, because not all answers would fall to Luke, and not all answers would fall to Snoke or Kylo or whoever it is. None of what I just said made sense. It did in my head.
Well, we hear you say the line, but I don't think we actually see her saying it, so we don't know who she's saying it to.
Right.
Is she saying it to Kylo Ren?
I mean, essentially, she's saying it to the galaxy.
Okay.
She's just asking and hoping for answers.
She also says, I need someone to show me my place in all this, and then we see Kylo Ren, and he puts his hand out. Does she take his hand?
That's an interesting question. I mean, the crazy thing is, the film literally comes out in a week and a half, so people don't have too long
I
to
can't
wait.
wait. You know I want the answers right now. Luke says, what do you see? She says, light, darkness, a balance.
A balance.
So maybe, so I know everyone's asking, is she going to join the dark side? But maybe she kind of finds...
I mean, in Star Wars, everyone's searching for the balance. I'm not saying she is or not, but I think a balance is a wonderful thing for her to feel, because there's an openness to both. There has to be a balance. It can't all be weighted one way, otherwise what is Star Wars? The war would continue on forever. But that's what she's feeling right then. But who knows, that scene may continue.
True. I know everyone has at one point tried their best Chewbacca impression, but I really believe that Porg is going to be the real MVP of this movie.
But Josh's, no one can beat that. And also, it just took me by surprise so much when he did that. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you to do your best impression. I didn't even have to ask you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you heard Mark Hamill's?
No.
This is great.
I heard it's good.
It's
I mean, he has been the Joker for so long. Like, he really knows how to manipulate his voice. He's a great voice actor.
And Andy Serkis.
Exactly, Andy Serkis. They're both much better at things than I. We can tell people to go and see it, and we can hopefully make people feel good about going to see it. But there's literally nothing else to be done except people watch it.
How do you feel about just, the whirlwind that you're getting ready to go on, and do you feel like there's a sense of responsibility given the fact that the fans are just so critical of every little thing about it?
The fans didn't feel critical first time around. I think I felt more of a responsibility when we were filming it, because that was when we were like at this point, what can we do? We can tell people to go and see it, and we can hopefully make people feel good about going to see it, but there's literally nothing else to be done except people watch it. When we were making it, there was a world of possibility. There were things that I was questioning and things that I was questioning more because of the reaction to the first one, and the reaction in particular to John and I. I was worried about being apart from him, so I felt a sense of, if I'm not with my guy, my buddy, how are people going to respond to that?
Right.
And Ryan was wonderful and talked me through everything, and we had a chance to rehearse and talk through the story, and obviously Ryan knows what he's doing because he's an awesome filmmaker.
Yeah, he's great.
So now that has sort of settled a bit. But it's a whirlwind. But now it's just really genuinely, it's exciting for it to come out and for people to see it.
For sure. I have a question when it comes to the aspect, or it's always written by a man, but the very most popular one was Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back, which was written by a female. If you could choose a female director to direct a future Star Wars, who would you choose and why?
I mean, I'm a very personal person. For me, it's all about like how I feel right there.
Right.
So I had a meeting with Reed Morano, who's awesome, who I think actually won the Emmy for Handmaid's Tale, and she just had a really great vibe. And I was lucky enough to work with a female director this year. But aside from that, I would say Reed Morano.
Excellent. Now, this experience, obviously, it's a whole lot that goes into it. If there's one thing that you could take away that's, very rewarding that you'll take onto the next set into your career in the future, what would it be?
I do genuinely feel like I've done 4 films in the past couple of years, and I do feel 5 films, including Peter Rabbit, and I do feel like every experience has made me feel like a better actor. And I've been really lucky. I think a lot of that is a sense of comfort when you're around people who are lovely.
Yes.
And I think Star Wars in particular, it was my first thing, and to come back to it and to be surrounded by people that made me feel comfortable, and like I had room to sort of play around and see what's what, that's where there's room to grow. And so I think there's that. I think it's the feeling of growing from film to film, and hopefully, upping the game every time.
For sure. Now, in Hollywood, and just dealing with all these movies, you did 5 of them this year. How important is it for you to just maintain discipline, and how does that, help you in your career?
Discipline in what way? Mental, physical?
It could be a little bit of both. I mean, not necessarily agreeing to everything when it comes to signing on to movies, or maybe just saying no when it comes to going out at night sometimes.
Yes, I think it's all about how you feel. The thing is, I was always the person that was like, quit while I'm ahead. Like, if I'm having a good night, I'd usually be like, right, it's home time now.
Right.
And I don't feel, luckily, I've never felt like a pressure to do to go out late or whatever it is if I don't want to. If I'm like I'm going to bed, I'm going to bed. I think the good thing about trying to maintain physical discipline is it's just a moment for you to figure everything out, and you could sort of work things out when you're doing whatever you're doing. But yeah, it's interesting because also as an actor, like you're constantly saying yes, and then suddenly you have choices and you're able to say no, and that's weird in itself to get your head wrapped around. So I think now I feel like I'm in a good even spot of being able to choose, and that is a really lucky place to be in.
My son is a big fan of your character.
It's hilarious because I was looking at you thinking, God, you're so young to be wearing a wedding ring. And you have a child?
Yep, he's 4 years old, big fan of The Force Awakens.
Oh.
But he gets so upset when Kylo Ren captures Rey. He always like, where's Rey?
Really?
So is my son gonna be scared of The Last Jedi?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually, to be honest, I'm surprised at 4. How old was he when he saw the first one?
3.5, 4.
That's pretty intense. You're exposing him to some dark at a young age.
I'm a great father, but
Great father. Father points. Yes, it's sad. It's sad. I found the story for me, it's not sad in the sad sense. It's sad when someone's grappling with their identity and they're asking questions, and and I think you feel more in this one how alone Rey has been. She has so many questions that she's never been able to ask anyone. So I think that's sad. But then I think there's a sort of stubbornness that will make kids in particular hopefully not feel so scared.
All right. So your character's very strong, but what would you describe as Rey's biggest flaw?
I don't think she has a flaw. I don't think of people in terms of flaws. I think I was actually having this discussion with my dad because I was like, people go to the hairdresser, get their hair done, they go to the gym to get their bodies done. You can always work on it, on your stuff, just if you can't see it. You can work on jealousy or anger or whatever it is. So I don't think that's a flaw. I think it's room for growth. And I think anything that might be the thing that people go, ugh, with the kids, if they're stubborn, if they're willful, serves her very well in this film. So I don't think that's a flaw.
So who's a better mentor, Han Solo or Luke Skywalker?
Interesting. She isn't seeking, when she met Han, it was all sort of an accident and she wasn't seeking answers from him. So I don't think she thought of him as a mentor. He just became a close person. She's asking something of Luke, so immediately that puts him in a different place. But they both offer things in their way.
So
these are great questions.
Well, thank you. How's Ryan changed Star Wars? I mean, you had that first one with JJ, but how did it change your experiences?
The energy of this one is more relaxed. Because JJ's like ding, 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 energy forward, and Ryan's he's weirdly calm. So that was, it's just nice having different energies, like giving different spins. But in terms of the film, it's just new stuff. Like JJ, I think, teamed the old with the new very, very well. And Ryan's teaming the old with the new, and the new is just different. And hopefully people will like that.
Now, you kind of blew up the internet last week when you said maybe you're going to be done episode.
I was misquoted. I was asked, by the way, the end of a very long day, the end of a very long shoot, I was asked how I felt going forward. And I said, in my mind, the story finishes at episode 9, because when I signed on, to me, Star Wars is in 3s. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. So for me, like, that's what I was signing on to, 7, 8, 9. So that's really what I was answering. And I think for now, not saying forever, obviously Rey will always be Rey. Just for now, I think, and obviously I don't know what happens in episode 9, even if I'm in it. But for now, I think it would be to me, 9 was always the end of this chapter. So yeah, so it's not me going, I don't want to, it's just that's what I always pictured. But Rey's asking a lot of the questions the audience are asking about her own thing, but also Rey's asking Luke questions the audience has about Luke. And then Luke's able to explain on screen all of the stuff that everyone's been asking to catch up on and asking to understand. So I think there's a real understanding between the both of them of what they're going through and what the other is doing to the other. And it's progressive and it's sweet. I think the relationship, it's like those great bonds with people that immediately have a connection of some kind. It's sweet, even if it's grouchy, even if it's happy, whatever it may be, there's a sweetness to it. Something inside me
has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
I think it's less of a solving and more of a growing. So there are questions that are answered, but I think whatever they may be, they're simply helping Rey grow and understand more. So it's not like definitive answers of this is this and this is this. It will be a continuing question, as life always is. But there is some level that Rey feels more comfortable and more accepted, I guess, in herself at the end of the film.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
In terms of her parents, there is some answer, yes, that we are given. There are steps, sort of like the rest of it, and this isn't me trying to be obscure. It's just in life, nothing's ever clean cut. It's if you're asking a question, it tends to be a continuing question that's always a conversation, and I think it always will be. But there are things she learns that help her to be like, okay, this is why I'm here, this is where it's at, it's all good.
Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
I think this is about balance in general. It's about taking away, it's sort of about taking away labels and taking away distinctions between two polar opposites and finding the middle ground and understanding more that in a war, both sides are losing. In life, like people are always going to be sacrificing something, people are always losing. It's always unhappy, it's always happy on both sides. There's all of that within everything. And I think this does a lot to show that more than ever, that it's not so distinct what's good and what's bad. Everything's an intermingling.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down. Come on! This is not going to go the way you think. Fulfill your destiny.
It's peculiar. Firstly, it's 6 months. It's like a long filming period. That was a year and a half ago. And then we're watching it. It's all very surreal. It's all really, really surreal. But I'm excited. I'm really excited for people to watch it. And I think because Ryan's been so chill about it all, it's like it just feels now like it's just the right time to just let it loose.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
How does it feel to jump back in the role and do it all over again?
It felt very weird because it didn't feel like doing something all over again. It felt like, for sure, like a different thing. Because the first time around I was like, oh, this is so fun, oh my God. And then the second time I was like, oh my God, this is fun but scary. And now I know that people have seen the film. And so it was different. That went away because of Ryan and Mark making me feel comfortable and happy and everything. But it's, it was for sure a different feeling.
So along that being said, I mean, the development of your character, do you go into it knowing, okay, here we are, we're moving a little bit, past the last film. Do you feel a sense of like, here we go with development?
I mean, I think the wondrous thing about working with really good writers is I don't sort of have to do that much. Obviously, I was thinking for like the year before we started shooting the next one about where Rey was going to be and everything. And then watching The Force Awakens was different because it was a different thing than I remembered. And then it became more of a, okay, where's this sort of story heading? But the writing is so wonderful. It's then it's just on an emotional level, as opposed to an intellectual level, because Ryan does that stuff.
You have such an iconic scene with Mark Hamill after the last one. As you're shooting that, going through your head, you're like, people are going to love this.
No!
Because everybody went nuts, including me. You had theaters screaming.
Can you imagine if, like, you went through your life going, people are going to love this? It's so weird. No. I remember thinking, I was poorly that day. I remember thinking, oh, Mark's doing a really good, cool performance. That's what I remember. I remember like, oh God, he's really, wow, it's really emotional. You know, and then I went home and went to bed.
Did you see it though, like in theaters with like a general audience at all? And
yeah.
Were you able to see at the end when people went, you know what I'm talking about?
Well, the hilarious thing was when we went to the LA premiere, John was in front of me. So when the lightsaber flew to me, John got up and screamed, and I was like, "That's hilarious." So there was a lot of noise throughout it anyway. Yeah, there was some great noise with that, as Mark calls it, the literal cliffhanger. People love that, yeah.
Yeah, literally. Okay, you mentioned the lightsaber. They're giving you props, saying great things about you, that your training, you just picked it up like that. A little bit more intense training for this film.
I mean, Liang is very sweet. Liang is a sword master, as in he does wushu and is unbelievable. He's unbelievable. The whole stunt team is. And also picking it up doesn't necessarily mean you've got it. But I think the first time around, I'd never really done anything that physical. So, you know, in my mind, there was a limit to what I could do, and I would get frustrated and everything. And as the clip showed, I would get frustrated in this thing too, but I felt like I could push myself much more because I had had much more training and had more of an understanding of the weapons and everything.
Speaking of the weapons, you don't have to get up, but is there a move that you make with the wrist or the hand with the lightsaber? Anything you can show us, a technique maybe?
Oh, it's just that, you know, you keep these ones free. And so everything rolls basically through, they're there, but everything just rolls through here, so you have much more movement, because if you're doing that, you obviously have less movement. So just all these ones are very light. I think because everyone's having a terrible year. On a worldwide scale, it's a terrible year. And my sister, who does Reiki and energy healing and things like that, we were talking about how just the energy of the earth feels a bit off. And I think it's that, like everyone can feel in the air that something's a little bit off. Because the balance of everything isn't quite right, because too much of bad stuff is happening and not enough good. So that really is simply, I think, what the Force is. I'm so neurotic this time. Because the first time it was all like sensory overload and oh my gosh, it's all so quick and everything just happened so quickly. And the second time I was like, oh, now I sort of know what Star Wars really means to people.
The film may be darker than one imagines, but the set, not so.
The set was such a happy place. Star Wars in general has been just the most wonderfully formative thing of a professional life anyway, because it's just what filming can. This is a strong stance, like heavy in your feet, weighty, like that.
What's like the thought? What's the vibe?
The thought is, you just hurt my friend, you're gonna pay.
What was your favorite memory of working with her on the film?
The first time around there was a behind the scenes release where me and her were dancing between takes, and this time captured us singing between takes. So it was probably that. It was the sort of sense of just joy that she brought to set. I wasn't really a fan of it. It was on my radar, but just seemed to sort of pass me by. As in, I'd seen the films, but that was sort of as far as it went. From my experience, Carrie didn't like give out advice. She just led by example, and the example being a brilliantly intelligent, funny, wonderful, warm person who made other people feel very at ease and comfortable. And I think if you can do that, you've already like done so much. And she made me feel very welcome and loved. And so that is just like making other people feel good and included, and yeah. And it's weird because so much of what happens in the film, it would have been emotional anyway, but there is like real unplanned poignancy. It's an emotional one. Looking for belonging. She found it with the Resistance. She found Finn and BB-8 and Han, and then Han is torn away from her and the whole Star Wars universe, and she's had to go away. It's very weird getting accustomed to people stopping you walking down the road. So I felt like I was like putting a hat on, putting glasses on. And then it was really Carrie leading by example, who would never do that. So I was like, okay, it's all good. She was just authentically her. There was no artifice, there was no covering up.
So tell us what it was like to be back in the Star Wars universe playing Rey.
It was nerve-wracking being back playing Rey. I think the first time around was so fun, and it was everything happened so quickly that I didn't really hold many expectations. And then obviously because the reaction to the first one was really wonderful, but then suddenly I was like, expectations! So it was more scary, but being surrounded by a wonderful cast and crew obviously made that go away. And then it was just great.
And how has the character matured, and what has she learned from?
As of whether the film takes off, Rey has learnt nothing that the audience hasn't seen. And I think what's great is because we're picking up with her story right where we left off, she's asking questions that the audience are asking. So any sort of emotional growth she's having, the audience is having too. She's asking questions that other people are wondering. And I think it's great because anything she's experiencing, the audience is seeing. They're right with her there.
Rey is a heroine that is adored by young girls, women, and guys that like badass heroines. And what are the attributes that make her a role model to all those people that love her?
I think the attributes that anyone has that make people like them tend to be that they make other people feel good, that they try and do the right thing, and that they're nice to be around. And I think in this, like Rey was alone for so long, and then meets BB-8 and immediately would do anything to help BB-8, and then meets Finn and immediately would do anything to help Finn, and is open to relationships and open to adventures. And so I think it's that. It's like an openness and a willingness and a kindness that she has.
Nice, nice. Tell us about Rey's look in this film, how it's different.
Rey's look, we begin in the look we left her with, and then the look we go into is more warrior, or as Americans say, warrior, which I always found hilarious, is more warrior, and for me feels more, for me it seemed more like the Kurosawa type of thing that Star Wars originally had so much of. For me it felt really cool because it felt more like a martial arty feeling, an Asian inspired feeling, which was cool, which was really cool, and it was great to move in the fight.
And the Star Wars films, last one and this one, have amazing practical, detailed sets. What was it like to work on the, I hear, more massive?
Yeah. It was awesome to work on everything. Like my favorite, and Ryan's talked about it too, is actually being in Ireland, which is a set that obviously was worked on too, but it's just a natural set, which was so beautiful and wonderful to be at. And because we sort of started there, when you then get back to the set, you're already rooted in that place that you actually were. And I think so much work was done to make us feel like we were actually in a place and that it wasn't a stage. The sets are unbelievable. Seriously, they're unbelievable. And it looks so good. So hopefully people will feel that too.
I'm sure. You've been introduced already for The Force Awakens. The fandom, the Star Wars fans are a unique breed. Mm-hmm. How has that changed your life, or how are you embracing that?
I think there's an awful lot that's wrong in the world at the moment, and to be part of something that people think is right is wonderful. And as an actor too, you couldn't really ask for much more. To be in something that everyone has a different opinion, everybody has a different story about where their love came from, about where their love took them for the Star Wars world. That it's overwhelming at times, because I was never really like a big fan of anything. But to see the love that people feel for something that I think is inclusive and wonderful and brings people together is fantastic.
And last question, what do you want audiences to come away from this film with?
I think the beauty of Star Wars is that people take so many different things away from it. Like, ultimately it's a family story, but then some people prefer the ship, some people prefer the creatures, some people prefer... It's a whole own thing. So I hope and I think there is much that will please a lot of people in The Last Jedi, but also enough that people will have their own experience of it and take their own thing, be that the relationship between Luke and Rey, be that the relationship between Finn and Rose, or the Porgs, or you know, or the island, whatever that may be.
Rey turns out to be Snoke. True or false?
False.
False?
I mean, I'm not even gonna entertain that. That is false.
Fair enough.
Also, I love that Rey is such a great character. They're like, no, she has to be in, like, she has to be. She's her own person.
Yeah.
Let her be her, guys. Let her live.
What is your favorite Snoke theory?
Oh, this one that I heard about time travel. We went back 20 years. It was insane. I was like a clone or something. Obviously, I got lost because I can't even remember what the theory was, but it was funny.
It's pretty amazing, though, how many theories are out there. People love to theorize on this.
I think that's the wondrous thing about this. It's like everyone is entitled to an opinion, and nobody's laughed at for what they think. Because there was literally a guy on the last film I did was telling me this theory, and I was like, bruh, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I'm so thrilled that you're telling me. For Rey, there is time for her to ask the questions that she has been harboring, and time to sort of process what's just gone on in The Force Awakens.
I have a question for you. So the parallels between you, actual Daisy, and Rey are very similar.
Actual Daisy.
Yeah, are very similar, because Rey was kind of involved in this big galactic war that was going on, kind of thrust into it, and your own acting career kind of like is at the spotlight. And I was wondering if that informed your performance at all for The Last Jedi from being in the spotlight.
I mean, the thing is I'm an actor, so it may seem like a big deal, but really I stand on a mark and say words for a living. But Rey is actually doing some real shit. She is potentially saving people's lives and trying to do the right thing. So in that regard, I would say they're not similar. But in I can see the comparisons, and I would say maybe because she has questions and I have questions, you know. So there was that going on. But I think mainly she is asking questions. She asks some like fun, silly questions that I think a lot of audiences have always wondered.
Sure.
It's like that thing of like, yeah, what is that thing? Like, actually, what does that mean? And I think that's fun, because me as someone who doesn't know so much the Star Wars world, it felt more like that was imitating, the art was imitating that.
Interesting.
That was a long answer, I'm so sorry.
No, that's good. Now, have you ever read any fan theory that has been right about your character?
No.
Really? Because
Yeah.
the big question is like, who's Rey's parents, right?
I mean, I've read fan theories about Immaculate Conception. In fact, that was only one that I read because someone directed me toward it, and I was like, you should get back to work. Immaculate Conception. Then someone told me that I was actually Snoke or something or other, and it was time travel. And I do think it is hilarious that there's this like great character and everyone's trying to attribute it to another character.
Yeah, Ben Kenobi. There's a lot of people saying that.
Oh, that I'm Ben Kenobi?
That you're
I heard about Snoke.
No, that you're Ben Kenobi's granddaughter is another theory.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. The only one I read is about Immaculate Conception, so technically I've never read a real one.
Interesting. Now, where you as Daisy, where would you like to see Rey kind of complete her journey in Episode 9?
I don't know. I think the wonderful thing about lives is they are ever continuing, ever present, ever growing. And I think the end of this film, really, Episode 9 could go anywhere.
Really?
Yeah. Or also, if people are sick of me, I could just be out. So I don't know. I really don't know. I actually really don't know.
Well, people aren't sick of you, so you're safe there.
I mean, but the film hasn't come out yet. Maybe
That's
after this
true.
episode's like, okay, enough. I'll just go and hide for a bit.
Now, recently you stated that Episode 9 was going to be your last.
That was misquoted.
Okay.
I was asked how I felt about going beyond it, and my answer being, when I signed up to 3 films. So in my head, Episode 9 is sort of the end right now. That was misquoted slightly.
The last shot of Force Awakens, you're obviously handing the saber to Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. And I'm curious, when you picked that shot back up for The Last Jedi,
yes.
Talk about the continuity, having to recreate that. How long after did you shoot that?
Over a year. Wow. Yeah. And the first time, I was very sick. I'm not sure if you've heard this story, but I was like genuinely vomiting in a tent when we were like getting the shot ready and everything. And so I was like, a bit dazed and out of it. So picking it up anyway was so odd because that, you know, when you're poorly and time is like a bit odd. So I couldn't quite remember what we had done. And also, yeah, so much time had gone by. But also, I think we picked it up before the first one had come out. So it was difficult.
Wow. And then did you find yourself wanting to look exactly the same, continuity-wise, the hair placement, the way you stood?
100%. But it is funny too. Just it's more, and it was more the feeling of it, because the first time round there was so much feeling in it. But then you don't know what's going to be picked. And Mark said, he gave such a range of things that it's hard to know what was picked because we hadn't seen the finished product yet. So sort of trying to recreate that feeling for an extended moment, and then as opposed to the end, it was the beginning. It's a whole thing.
And there's so many fan theories, and I'm not going to sit here and ask you who Rey's parents are. I know you get that question all the time, but I'm genuinely curious though. At the beginning of Force Awakens, so you and John Boyega are both British actors. You have British accents. John went into an American accent in the film. You kept your British accent.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, was there a decision there? Is it a character choice why you have a British accent? Because there's theories about who your parents might be if you have a British accent.
Firstly, John's American accent is fantastic.
It's insane.
And mine, I think it could have been distracting. If I was like, hey, heart solo, and did an awful American accent. I didn't decide that, no. So maybe I'm sure there's a reason.
Well, I can't wait to find out.
Yeah.
Now, one of my favorite scenes in The Force Awakens was the scene when you did the Jedi mind trick on Daniel Craig's Stormtrooper character.
Yes.
We've heard Daniel Craig's version of that story. What happened on that day for you?
What was Daniel Craig's version?
Well, just he told it on the air that he was actually in the Stormtrooper costume.
Oh, he was sweating too.
Did you? So how did that all go down? Did you know he was going to be in that suit when you filmed that scene?
Yeah. Because because the helmet's really heavy and hot. So we had done blocking and everything with him out of the helmet, and I was like, this is hilarious. It was easier when he had the helmet on because I'm like, then it's just Stormtrooper. And otherwise I was like, it's James Bond.
Does he actually speak during those scenes?
Yeah.
And then is it just his normal voice and then they change it digitally in post?
No, it was his normal voice. He was doing the thing. He was doing the line. And then in post, I think because of the muffling anyway, they would have had to
ADR it.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I find interesting, obviously the Carrie Fisher element of this film is incredible, the emotional connection to it. I cannot wait to see how Ryan handles the character. I'm just wondering, do you have a particular favorite memory of her on or off set that maybe just stays with you, of something that you just look back on and go, gosh, I really love that moment with Carrie?
I think when they released the behind the scenes thing for The Force Awakens, and there was a clip of me and her dancing, when I saw, I can't remember where it was, or if I was just told about it, but when, in this one, there's a thing of us singing. And so it was just that's the nice thing, is between all of it, and we were just playing around.
Does the film finally answer the question of who Rey's parents are?
That was a stare and a blink.
What?
What does it mean?
So you're trying to confuse me.
I'm not.
An Obi-Wan bathrobe.
Oh, it's great. Did you actually make it?
I did, in Kinko's. They were
Oh.
like, who is that crazy person? Like, this will make sense, hopefully, in a little bit.
I love it.
I don't know if you know this, but every time a Star Wars movie comes out, the following year when they release this list of most popular baby names,
Oh, yeah.
always Star Wars names on
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Luke and Leia go. I think Daisy shot up after Force
it?
Awakens.
Oh, that's
yes.
nice.
But I wanted to ask you, beyond Luke and Leia and Daisy, in your opinion, what are the best Star Wars baby names?
Lando.
I'm Lando Calrissian. I'm the administrator of this facility.
Lando. Oh, I endorse that endorsement. Yeah.
Unkar.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Finn's a lovely name. Finn's a lovely
Finn
name.
actually shot up after Force Awakens.
Yeah, I can
Yep.
see that. That's a lovely name. He's always got the half smile. Mine is.
Let's chat about this movie.
Okay.
What can we talk about?
We can talk about Oscar's locks. We can talk about Adam's locks.
Oh.
We can talk about Mark's cloak ability.
That looks a bit coarse, doesn't it?
Take his hood off.
I'm poking a little bit of fun at the secrecy behind the film because it has gotten to the point where it's really under lock. At the moment, lock and key. Now that you've been in 2 movies, what kind of fan are you now?
I wasn't really a fan of it. It was on my radar. Radar?
Radar!
It was on my radar, but as in I'd seen the films, but that was sort of as far as it went.
You didn't want to have to force yourself to watch it.
Yeah, no, I have seen that one.
Since you've come into the Star Wars universe, I'm sure you've accumulated some swag, some toys, some
Yes.
gifts from people. Do
Yeah.
you have a most prized Star Wars possession?
My most prized possession, actually, I may or may not have been given a prop from The Last Jedi, which is pretty cool.
I think May.
But my most prized possession is Jonas, who is one of the wonderful Chewies, who plays it alongside Peter now.
Mhm.
He gave me a Chewie doll that lives in
Nice.
my living room, and that is my most prized possession because he's really wonderful.
Aside from this mysterious prop that you
This
may or may not have gotten
mysterious
from
prop.
I think it's a lightsaber.
Why are you so crazy about the Porgs?
I don't know, because it's kind of like an Ewok, where people love Ewoks,
Yeah, no,
people
no.
do not love Ewoks.
But
they're
Ewoks
a
were-
polarizing figure in
But
the...
also, Ewoks were hilarious because a Porg is, I don't know.
Are they dumb?
No, but it's a
Oh,
bird.
it's a
like
bird.
an Ewok's like a, you
Sure,
know.
like a thing.
Yeah. No, but my friend sent me a picture of her face, like next to the Porg face. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
The first one came out, and then really, like 2 weeks later, we were reading episode 8. So I think there wasn't much time to sort of figure out where I thought it had have gone. Regardless, there must have been some expectation because I still found it unexpected, the story.
But some.
Would you be willing to share some of the best advice Carrie Fisher gave to you?
She didn't give me advice per se. It's just being around someone who's very authentic, and I think it's the sort of thing she just made people feel included. She just had great qualities that are in a lead by example thing. She's just wonderful. Did have questions, yeah, because when I read it, I was like, Finn and Rey were the thing for me in The Force Awakens that people really responded to. My question was, how does this work if Finn and Rey aren't, I should say Rey and Finn, because I don't know how it is for John. How does it work if they're not together? Are people still going to respond the same? Luke. He's weirdly calm. There's really comfort in someone being so calm, because also you look and think he knew what he was doing. He had control over his thoughts, over the story, over how it was playing out. Everybody loved working for him, so there was just the most amazing teamwork on set. And there's just a comfort in that. Daisy, this is the second time you're playing me in a live-action film. What do you love most about it? I love most about running around and doing fun things with a lightsaber with my cool pals. Interesting. You and BB-8 seem quite close. When you first met, did you just click? Yes, we did just click. Click. When you use the Force, does it make your head spin? Like this? My head has never spun quite like that when I've used the Force, but it does make my brain go into a spin. Great. It's weird. It's really hard to gauge something you're in. It was wonderful being there with everyone. It's very emotional. It's fun, yeah. It's different. It's interesting. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to say.
Right.
What did John say?
He just, gave a lot of the great blurbs. It was awesome. It was great. It was
Right,
fantastic.
right.
I got to see it again.
Yeah. Which you do actually, and that's the one thing. There's so much to take in. It is a for sure see again film.
So it seems like in this film, based on what we've seen in the trailers, is Rey is there to remind Luke of where he used to be, the hope he used to have.
Oh, nice.
Is that your experience in the film?
I think in the grand sense, yes. Rey is not aware of that, and I don't think I don't want to speak for Mark, but I don't think that was what we went into it thinking. It maybe transpires that is something of it. But I think it's more personal than that, really, because she's trying to help the Resistance, and she's also trying to find out about herself, and she's asking a lot of questions that really apply to her. So in the smaller scale, I think it's more personal.
So I got to ask the important questions. What's your thoughts on porgs?
Literally the 300th time I've been asked about porgs today.
Yes.
What do you think about porgs?
I don't know. I'm eager to see it.
People are crazy about the porgs. I mean, the porgs, yeah, they're a big moment in the thing. But look at that poster. There's not a porg on that poster. There are a whole host of other things.
Yes.
I'm surprised that the porgs have been taken to so strongly.
Since The Force Awakens, you've had all sorts of experiences with fans. What has been your favorite experience?
This week was cute because I interviewed Brooklyn Prince from Florida Project, and she's 7, and she's. Have you seen that film?
No, I haven't.
She is extraordinary.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and it's weird because I was genuinely so taken aback by how wonderful she was in the film. So I was like having a moment with a 7-year-old, and then she was the way she talked about. Right, that was awesome because it's like. It's weird because we're both actors, but she's 7. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Okay, I was just over with John,
Yeah.
and I asked him what I should ask you, and he said, I should ask you to sing me a pleasant song. Does that ring a bell?
What pleasant song would it be? I was singing something yesterday, but I was taking the Michael, as we say. Do you know the song I auditioned to get into my performing arts school was, even when the darkest clouds are in the sky, you mustn't sigh and you mustn't cry, just spread a little, it's nice, spread a little happiness.
Excellent.
Thanks.
So did
Were you actually expecting that? Because I wasn't expecting me to do that.
I didn't know what to expect. It
and
could've
I'm
gone a lot of
surprised that I
different
just
ways.
did that.
Yes. Well, thank you.
And for you, just the excitement surrounding this episode 8. Where will we see your character go, Ray?
We will see her. What's nice is The Force Awakens, we saw a lot of physical journey, and this one is more of an emotional one. So anywhere Rey goes, obviously there is movement in it, and there's physical stuff and everything, but the direction is emotional. So that's cool. So there is an expansion, there are questions asked, there are things explored, and resulting, I think, in a Rey who understands everything more.
So does that mean will we learn where you come from, your background, who your parents are?
Maybe.
Maybe?
Maybe we will.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to wait and see.
So much secrecy.
Yeah.
Is it not too long ago you were bartending in London, and now look at you?
How old am I? 25. 4 years ago I was bartending.
Yes.
Yeah. I left my job because I was auditioning at the time, and I'd been told that I maybe had to fly to America to test, and I'd just done an acting job. So I felt like I was a top baller. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to take like Christmas off. So yeah, it was 4 years ago I stopped working in the pub.
In The Force Awakens, constantly you're just referred to as girl. You know, I saw that, I picked up on that right away. But of course, so many see you, of course, as the heroine you are. Can you talk about that being this powerful figure?
It's funny because I think the characters in the story are, Rey included, are taken aback by the Force connection that Rey has, and I think it's that funny thing of being underestimated, as everyone knows how that feels in real life.
Yeah.
So there is no more. There are a few girls in this one. Wait, I forgot what I was actually answering, but it was a good
about
point.
being this heroine, this going from girl to now, you definitely have respect.
Yeah, I think the film shows that.
Yeah.
I think it becomes. It's funny actually. I didn't really think about that. I think as Rey's identity, like she's grappling with the identity, as she's understanding it more. There's no more of that.
Yeah.
It's Rey, and she has a name and a purpose and everything. And then she's referred to again as girl. Actually, it's so interesting you say
more
that.
of it? Okay.
No, just once though.
Okay.
It's really interesting you say
well,
that.
now you're this budding Jedi. I mean, you're like the future. So.
I think we're all part of it, and I think what's wonderful really is the people that it's girl are people that Rey doesn't know, and the relationship with BB-8 and Finn and then Han and everything. It's like everyone else is like going to the doctor when you're a number, and then otherwise it's like being around the table when you're a name.
Yeah. How awesome was it being a part of putting this together?
It was great. It's wonderful. Because a lot of the crew were similar, and obviously a lot of the cast were similar, and then it feels enough, like it really genuinely does feel like a family. So when people are joining, it's quite nice, like even with Kelly joining, it's nice to know I was made to feel so welcome by everyone. So it's nice that I know that someone else would feel like that.
Yeah.
It's great. I think to be part of something that people love and people within the film really, really love is the best.
Not just a movie, not just a saga, which is something unique like Star Wars.
It's just a professional stuff that's changed. Obviously, there's a sense that obviously I walk down the street sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, and people would say their kids dress up and stuff like that, which is really wonderful. But for the most part, I'm just busy, which is great. Ryan, because he has vast film knowledge, something I never knew, he just said in second films, characters are just challenged. And that, I think, tends to be why they're the most loved, because characters challenged and they're pushed beyond where you think they may go, and you're seeing just an immediate response to that. And there's a lot of personal growth in that. And hopefully people will like this one, yes.
If I got this right, the least we can say is that Rey is challenged in this one.
Mais oui.
Uh-huh.
Mais oui.
Well, in which way would you say?
She is challenged through an existential sort of challenge. She's trying to figure out where she fits in, she's trying to figure out where she comes from, and that brings up its own challenges. There's a lot of emotions with that, there's a lot of questions, and there's a lot of moments where, you know, she's trying to figure out what the truth is and where the truth lies. I think a lot of it really is like, everyone's always like, all the time, and in this, it's just communication. It's just communication, face-to-face communication. People growing, relationships being severed. You're just seeing the intricacies of a human soul. And I think there's beauty in that communication.
How about the feeling of resistance, that we can still resist to a darker power or something like that?
Yeah, I think we can all feel it. I mean, everybody knows that something is way up in the universe right now. And the fact that everyone knows it and they're striving for something better, it may not be immediate, but it's on the horizon. That is the resistance.